Well, I kind of wanted to go back to that era because obviously the Beneath the Remains into Arise, just for you personally, had to be some of the best times of your life because that's you're doing Beneath the Remains in Brazil, but then by the time Arise is coming over, you're coming over and doing more in the States, and like that just seems like a huge time for you personally and musically and growth and things.
Yeah, it was a great time. In fact, I think to me, Beneath the Remains is one of the most raw records ever made in metal in general. And I believe I know why it's so raw. It was because it was done at night. That's a nocturnal record.
Right.
And I never done a nocturnal record ever since. We couldn't record during the day. There was a pop band in the studio during the day. So our sessions was from midnight to 7.
Oof.
Like, it's crazy. I never heard of those hours in a studio for a band before, and was the only thing available. We wanted to record in the best Brazilian studio at the time, and it was Nas Nuvens in Rio, and that was all that was available. It was that, but because of that, just because it was nocturnal, man, there was something about those graveyard shift hours
Right.
that filter right into the record, man, and you almost feel like the desperation of also because I think it was our shot. We had this one shot. It's like you're holding the dice and you're rolling the dice and you got this one fucking chance to make it a good one. It was Roadrunner put all the chips on us. They're believing in this band. We had to make the best record we could make. So I was very inspired and very, just very thrilled, man. And I think it shows on the songs. I think the growth from Schizophrenia to Beneath the Remains is huge. I think the band, we all took a step forward. And I think Arise is better songwriting, maybe a little bit than Beneath the Remains. It's not as raw.
Yeah.
It's a little bit more polished, but you can tell that there's a growth on songwriting, especially stuff like Desperate Cry and Dead Embryonic Cells. And, so I hold those two records in a very special place in my heart. In fact, I think without Beneath the Remains, I wouldn't even be here talking to you right now. If you would have made a shitty record, if you would have made just a complete dog shit album, that would be it. We were fade into obscurity in Brazil. Nobody would even heard about us ever again. So it was very important to make just a killer record. And I think you can sense that desperation in the performance of that record. And I love it. I love that the record we captured that on the album, so I think it's timeless. And the crazy thing about it is like how relevant those songs are today,
Right.
especially if you're talking about Beneath the Remains, which is an anti-war song. If you think about what's going on in Europe right now, in Ukraine, that song is all about that. It's, who has won, who has died,
Right.
Beneath the Remains. That's it, man. It's like, so it's crazy. 30 years later, those lyrics are more relevant now than they even before. They're more important now than they were. I think that makes it a little special too, makes it a little cooler. And it's just fun to play. It's all tuned to E standard. That was before we start fucking with tunings. And in fact, I lied. On our first EP, we down tuned. Yeah, Best of Devastation had 2 songs that were down tuned to like C. So I think the very first thing we recorded was down tuned, and then we went into a bunch of Morbid Visions, Schizophrenia, Believe the Remains, was all E standard. And then we start fucking with tuning again on Chaos AD.
You're talking about lyrics. The one thing I was picked up on in Dead Embryonic Cells, where you're like, laboratory sickness infects humanity, and there's all that COVID theories that it was made in a laboratory, and so you got laboratory sickness infects humanity. I'm like, oh, it's still very valid today.
Yeah, no hope for the future. Die by technology.
Here we are, man. And here we are, the technology boom and of everything going on. So you're a prophet, man. You're a prophet.